Headline, Sonic fans, use your anger constructively. And I couldn't believe the response you got. I'm looking at the Times website. You got about 375 comments on the webpage. I know you're getting tweets, you're getting texts, you're getting emails. For people that have not yet had a chance to read the column in yesterday's paper, what was it all about?
Basically, it's not about what Nate said. I know that it hurts, but let's not jump on his back. Let's use the anger that we have and figure out a way to come together, unite, and figure out what's the best strategy for us to tell people that we want the NBA basketball back here.
Right, and my reaction to that, and I don't know how you took it, but my reaction is I've got kind of a fundamental rule when it comes to losing a franchise, that there's no book on how to react, right? You react any way you want. You want to be pissed off forever, be ticked off forever. You want to be angry at Howard. You want to be angry at Clay. You want to take pot shots at OKC. You want to ignore the NBA. You want to jump on somebody else's bus. Do whatever you want. And I agree with a lot of the points you made about Nate Robinson. I think the shoot the messenger mentality was definitely in play there a little bit when he sent that tweet out, and it kind of just picked at a scab. But I'd rather see people be angry and be ticked off and insulting people even some ways and throwing pot shots at OKC, whatever, than be totally apathetic, which the way some people have become. They've just said the hell with the NBA, and they've jumped off the bus. At least there's a heartbeat is what I'm saying from these people that are ticked off.
Yeah, it's better than crickets chirping. And and now being the messenger and getting all kinds of messages, including having to dodge a couple bullets.
Yeah, you signed up for that, though, pal.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but I realize now that this is a good thing. This is back in the conversation,
right? And
maybe something productive can come out of this.
Sure. Well, and you know, I guess that's the whole point, is that, you know, you and I were talking off the air about the state, you know, the atmosphere right now of basketball in Seattle, and I feel like one of the reasons why people are so ticked off at what's happening with OKC, which we try not to mention that city on the air, by the way, but sometimes we slip, is because we've got no progress going the other way. There's nothing else to do. There's no leadership. There's no progress towards a new arena. There's no progress towards a new franchise. I was telling you off the air, I kind of feel like we were on this bus with Durant and Jeff Green and Westbrook towards great things, and all of a sudden they kicked us off, and they haven't picked us up yet. We're sitting there with nothing. If there was some kind of progress towards an arena, don't you think a lot of this anger would be dissipated and be, you know, it'd be forced to be, you know, talking about something more productive than just being ticked off about the way they're playing right now?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's something that people need to hold on to, something tangible.
Yep.
And it's, who knows where it's coming from. There might be some you know, backroom deals being made. There might be some things in place. I mean, I truly do believe if the atmosphere changed to where, you know, a Steve Ballmer or any potential ownership group felt like politically they could get an arena deal done, they would jump at the chance and they would come out of the woodworks. But they're not gonna come out right now, because it does them no good.
Right. Have you heard anything that's tangible that we can sink our teeth into? Because you mentioned the crickets. That's what I hear from the other side. I don't hear anything going on. I talked to some politicians locally that are upset that we're not talking about a regional perspective here. We got Mike McGinn worried about Bellevue when he ought to be worried about just doing his role and bringing him back, period. Is there anything that you've heard?
The only thing I hear, it all comes back to Bellevue. And then with McGinn coming out against Bellevue and trying to ruin whatever political clout they could have.
Sure.
That's what it all comes back to. I feel like if something's going to get done, it's likely going to get done on the east side.
Yep.
But who knows how far away we are from that. And then the NBA, which is just the most terrible sports business, period, they're about to have a lockout, and so nothing's going to happen until you figure out what the new business deal is in the NBA.
Right. Well, I don't see it happening for a long time because of really two reasons. Number one, the politicians in this city who are like working with a brick wall. You just run into a brick wall every time you want to get something done. And then number two, I just don't see overall the passion for it, the desire. I'm not talking about the hardcore fans. Those people are fine. What I've always said, there's just not enough of them in this town, Jerry. You know, I mean, we turn down, you know, proposals. We vote against things with citizens for more important things, blah, blah, blah. the passionate fans, the ones that that are all fired up and rooting against OKC and turning that into a little quasi rivalry. That's great, but there's just not enough of them in this town.
Yeah, I can't reach out and touch it softly. That's what I would love to know is like what is the percentage? I mean, how many people are truly passionate? Can we all come out of the woodworks and get together on something and see, how strong our number is?
Right.
Because I just get this sense.
You think it's bigger than it is, or
I get the sense that it's bigger. I'll tell you why. Because 3 years have passed, and if you look at say from me and Steve Kelly, the most hits that we've gotten on columns, if you take both of our top 5 and put it together, in our top 10 columns the past 3 years, 6 of them, the most hits came from NBA Sonics stuff.
Okay.
And this is since the team has been gone.
Isn't that because
it's not about Matt Hasselbeck. It's
right.
not about the Mariners. Nothing. So there's something that's striking a chord. But I wonder how many people. If it's just is it 1,000 people yelling, or is it 15,000, or is it 100,000?
Right.
I can't put my hand on that.
Well, we had, I don't remember the exact proposal, but it was Chris Van Dyke that had that initiative out where he said, okay, if we do this, we got to get X in return, a certain amount of, rate of return. And 70 to 30, something like that. The numbers were against it, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what the numbers are. Maybe it's time for another rally, outside the mayor's office and see how many people show up. But I want to go back to your column for a second yesterday because you talked about, all right, you're angry, you're ticked off. Now use that anger in a constructive way. What do you want people to do? What does Jerry Brewer want those people that are ticked off and whining and moaning and bitching and arguing? What do you want them to do?
I think our biggest problem right now is that we have to convince our political leaders that this is an important issue, that this matters to us. I think we have to come out in great numbers, and in the media, if it's a cause that you support, we have to come out and really blast away at it.
Right.
Give it one more blast. And this is a little bit different than, 3 or 4 years ago when everybody knew that the team was gone. I think people gave up too easily back then. They just thought
gave up when?
Ever since Howard Schultz sold
the team
to the Oklahoma City owners, everybody knew that was kind of inevitable. So I think a lot of people died off then. And even though Save Our Sonics and all of those guys did as much as they could to rally everybody together, I don't think people knew exactly what was going to happen and how this was going to feel in 2011. Now I think if we went back and you could tell people this is the hole that we have. How many more of you are passionate about getting something back that really belongs to the city, that was here for 41 years.
Right.
I think that the group of people that would support bringing the NBA back would be stronger and more vocal than it was.
Interesting. Well, we're talking about going through round 3 or round 4 of of contacting your politicians and getting all that stuff done. And bottom line is they just don't hear from enough people. I mean, let's face it, the politicians in this city, they're puppets. They'll do whatever their constituents tell them to do. All right, that's why there's no NBA here, because people just in the long run voted against it, didn't want it. So I just wonder if people have it in them to go through another round of being told no by guys like Mike McGinn, by people like Christine Gregoire and Frank Chop. I think people were just beaten down mentally so bad by those people of leadership positions that they just quit. They said, the hell with it. If you're not going to fight for me, then what's the point of even picking up a fax machine or making a phone call? But you heard Sean Kemp there talking about Oklahoma City, last segment, and you and I were talking off the air about the thing that really, really ticks people off. I mean, let's just put Nate Robinson aside. Let's put the fact that they're winning aside. The thing that I get people fired up for the most is when they talk about history. Team going for their first finals appearance in 15 years. They're in the conference finals for the first time since '96. They're selling hats on NBA.com, as you said, with the date 1967 on the back. What about that? What about that angle that fans take where they channel a lot of their vitriol and animosity towards that idea?
Oh, that pisses me off more than anything. That is get out the fire and the pitchforks and let's go at them because that's bogus. And it's ridiculous. And, yeah, you can sort of see this. I think the first couple of years, for whatever reason, Clay Bennett and those guys were very respectful of the fact of, hey, let's move on. That was the Sonics. This is the Thunder. now they are, for whatever reason, they are trying to take something from that history.
Are they doing that in the arena, or is that more of a league, kind of a broadcasting thing?
I haven't quite put my finger on exactly what they're trying to do there, but I mean, there's something that's coming from them, and you can sort of see it. Clay is starting to take that ownership of, like, this history is ours.
Right.
And I mean, you can even look to something as subtle as the guys from Sonicsgate wanting to do a video with the trophy. Yep. And Clay denying them access to the trophy to do that, which I think is ridiculous.
Sure.
I mean, the agreement is originally supposed to be, it's technically his, but he is going to let Seattle keep it essentially in perpetuity. But now it seems like he's coming back to get it. And I don't know. Clay is a real bitter human being. I mean, I cannot explain to people how bad of a guy this guy is.
How bitter is he? How bitter is he?
He's so bitter that I think he's so tired of hearing Sonic's thunder that he's like, I am just going to put them together. Right. I am just going to take this.
Right. Well, but that's not the way to do it. I mean, if you go the other way,
I think it's a better story for you if you disconnect and you say, hey, in our third year of existence, we made it to the Western Conference Finals.
Sure.
That's the way I would sell it. But,
absolutely.
I mean, this guy has never been accused of being the smartest human being on the planet.
Well, but when you tell the Sonicgate guys you can't have access to the trophy, all it's going to do is rile them up even more, and it's going to get them on TV. I mean, somehow, some way, Jason Reed, I don't know how those guys pull it off. They're getting seats 2 rows behind the bench.
Yeah.
They're on TV. They're all over NBA TV. All over. I mean, look, you want to get rid of that, then placate them a little bit. Say, hey, look, we're going to give up the history. We're going to give you all of it. Just get out of my hair. Isn't that? I mean, if you're Clay, isn't that the approach you take?
But that's not the way he is. I mean, he takes it way too personally. He takes it as personally as we do.
Right.
And he won.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, I just don't get that, because the more he acts like that, the longer these pains in the rump are going to hang around. And, again, I mean, going back to the article that you were talking about yesterday, I think, one thing that drives me nuts, and it's kind of a hot button for me, and I'll admit it, and I've told my listeners, and they know, now they're busting my balls for it, and they'll get on me purposely. When people tell me to get over something, it just kills me, Jerry. Get over it. Move on. And my response is simple. Who are you to tell me how to deal with heartache? Who are you to tell me how to deal with having my heart ripped out 3 years ago, and now watching my old team potentially have a chance to win the whole freaking thing, which I don't think would shock anybody if they won the whole thing this year. It might slightly surprise you, but it certainly can't stun you. A lot of parity in the NBA right now. And I got people like Calabro going on radio saying, get over yourself. People telling me to move on, get over it. I don't have to get over anything. If this is the way I want to deal with it and be ticked off at the world, then damn it, that's what I'm going to do.
No, that's a really good point, Softy. And I am not saying in my column, get over it. And I don't think Calabro in his quote was saying, get over it. He's saying, get over yourself, meaning...
What's the difference in your mind?
Get over yourself means stop making it all about you and stop whining about how much you hurt and go out there and let's make something productive out of it. That's essentially what his quote is. He's not saying get over it. You're saying use that anger for something else.
Right.
And
my point yesterday was what?
And then once again, it's not about moving on.
Sure.
You don't have to move on.
Yeah.
You got the stolen from. You don't have to move on. It is about moving forward. And then once again, Seattle was victimized.
Yep.
But we don't have to allow ourselves to be the victim. We need to take some action.
Why can't I do both? Why can't I sit around and be... I mean,
well, you can...
Especially this time of the year. I mean, this was... I think there's 2 points in time in this whole saga that are as sensitive as any. Number one, the day the team left, obviously, and watching those you-know-whats in the political circle laughing their faces off at that press conference. It's a good thing I wasn't there. I would have been arrested, by the way. And then
Thank God you weren't there.
Right. And then number two, right now, because now this is so typical, Jerry. A lifelong Seattle guy like me, being here 38 years, this is so typical. That finally you get a star player, finally you get a great team that could challenge for an NBA championship for maybe the next 5 or 6, 7 years, and they're not even here anymore. So this is the sensitive time, I think, that fans are going through. That, all right, you want to let loose, you want to get the emotions off your sleeve, you want to wear your heart outside your chest. All right, I can understand it right now because of what we're watching in the Midwest. That's all I'm saying.
No, you make a really good point there. And maybe that's something that in trying to make my message, I wasn't as sensitive enough to that.
To the atmosphere of the current situation.
This totally sucks. I mean,
That's brutal.
Seattle should be on fire right now. There should be a basketball on top of the Space Needle.
Absolutely. How big a god would Kevin Durant be in this town right now if he were here? Are you kidding me?
I mean, we're talking a Griffey-esque.
No question. And that's the thing where I don't know, man. I mean, I don't mean to jump on you or jump on anybody else look, if you've got a different take than me, that's fine. And it goes along with, hey, deal with it how you want. You want to move on, you move on. But I certainly can understand why people are so on edge right now. That's all I'm saying. And sooner or later, maybe you turn that into something more productive. Maybe you're doing both. Maybe you take the anger you feel right now, and then in June or July, when the season's over, maybe you do start to contact your local politicians. Maybe you do, get together and have a rally in Olympia. But this particular time, on May the 16th of 2011, Sonic fans right now are on edge more than they've ever been in the last 3 years because of what's potentially about to go down in the Midwest. That's what I'm saying.
No, and that's a good point. I mean, it really does suck. But it's, once again, I kind of treat this Nate Robinson thing. I made the comparison in my column. I'll make it now. It's like you had this beautiful girlfriend for a long time, and she went off, and she left you, and now she's dating this ugly guy.
Sure.
And your friends forever have said, man, you were wrong. You're so much better for her.
Right.
Now she keeps looking better and better.
Yeah.
And you're still thinking,
that's
man,
tough.
she's with that guy. And then now one of your good buddies, Nate Robinson, hung out with the couple and said, hey, that dude isn't so bad. I actually like that guy. And now you're pissed at your best friend, and it hurts. But your best friend now is essentially telling you, hey, man, you ain't got to get over it, but you need to go better yourself.
Right.
Go find you another lady.